So I accidentally pressed the stop button instead of pause button in the last tutorial. So that's my bad, but that was alright because I had time to look over our code and I saw that we had quite a bit of errors, but not that many. So our first error is somewhere in here. So pause the video and see if you can find it. So the error was right here, self. So we're in a static method and you cannot pass in self up here as a parameter like this. Actually, in our case, self is the fly object itself. And another thing, we pass in screen height up here, but in our main file we forgot to pass in screen height. So just put screen height in as a parameter. Next up, I think that was good, so now we should be able to run our program. Okay. So if I go on Frost, let me just check. Okay. So already we have a problem. You saw that I hit the fly, it was going in the right direction, but I hit it and it defaulted to facing the left. So if we go back in here, the problem with that is we're checking to see what velocity our fly is in this block of code, but up here we're saying that our fly's velocity is equal to 0. So this is bad. Don't ever do this. Don't ever declare a variable and then check what it should be, because you'll always get the same thing. So instead I just cut out that piece of code and pasted it in there. So if our fly is dead, then wait, this should be is dead. Yeah. So if our fly is dead, then fly stop moving, basically. So let's run our program again. So put it back on Frostbolt. So our flies freeze in the right direction. Let me just do another test. Okay. It seems so. So our fly's okay, but see if I hit it with another Frostbolt, it flips. So there's another problem. So go back to process. And this is what I thought would happen in the last tutorial when I was checking for else. So our fly is dead, but we're still assigning images nevertheless. But since it's 0, it'll always default to the bottom one after it's hit. To avoid that, just change else to else if fly.velocity x is less than 0. Meaning that if our fly's velocity x is 0, then it won't change either of the images. So go back and check up on that. And it only happened on the right for some reason. There we go. So no matter how many times I hit this fly, it won't change. So seems legit, but there's still one more problem. If I hit a fly too close, I can't shoot anymore. And that goes back to the problem we had a couple tutorials ago right here. And we solved it by taking our projectile and shooting it off the screen before it died. Okay. So once we're finished looping through this guy, what we're going to do is we're going to destroy that object. So just paste those lines of code in there. And oh boy, what happened? Just comment that and bring our projectile down the line, and we need to change this guy's name. So projectile. And I think we're good. So let's run it. And now I can shoot even like on top of the dead corpses of those flies. Oh, but then we can still change the image of our bug, but that's fine. Because technically, if we have a frozen fly, we can still convert it to a burnt fly, but for some reason I can't convert a burnt fly to a frozen fly, but I don't know, that's cool. So I don't see any bugs in our program anymore, so that's super cool. So let me just recap on everything we did. So first of all, back in our collision detection method, let me just cut this stuff out. Alright. So first of all, we started by looping through all the flies in our classes.fly.list. And we did that because the sprite.collide method takes an individual sprite along with a sprite list, or group I should say, and returns all the projectiles that hit this fly, if this is true, of course. So this will contain all the projectiles that hit our fly, and we're looping through all the projectiles in that projectile list. That's why I put this plural. And there should only be one at a time, but you know, just for good manners, we looping through them all since it's a list anyways. Now we know that our fly got hit by a projectile, so our fly is dead. So that's why we're saying the health equal to 0. Now we made a stupidly long variable, like it says in the comment right there, to check if this variable is true, then it's fire. So we're checking if our projectile is fire or frost. So this is fire right here, and right here is frost. So it's fire, just set our fly's image to a fire image. That was pretty cool because all I did was I went into Photoshop, I put in the fly image, I flipped it vertically and changed the contrast and the saturation, and it gave that really cool like dead fly kind of thing. So I'm glad it turned out really nice. Next, if it's a frost, frost is a little different because we just want to freeze the fly as it is. So if it's going in the right direction, then we just set equal to the default image. But if it's going left, then we set equal to the right image, although we flip it horizontally on the x-axis using transform.flip. Remember, these are two booleans. This indicates horizontal x-axis flip, and this is vertical y-axis flip. Alright, and once we're done with our projectiles, that projectile we're looping through, we position it off the screen. And the reason we do this is, again, because if our projectile hit an object and it was too close, then we cannot shoot another projectile after. Although if we reposition it right before we destroy it, then that won't cause a problem because it won't be destroyed right next to the bug. And if we go in classes, in our fly class, just explain what we did in the update all method, where we update all our flies. We're looping through all the flies here. We're checking if our fly is dead or alive. If it's alive, well, it can fly along that sweet sine curve. But if it's dead, then we're telling our fly, you're dead, you can't move. So fly.velocity x is 0. Next, we're checking if our fly is still above the ground using its absolute y position plus its height, because the absolute y position is at the top left corner of our image, and we check still less than the screen height, which we pass in over here. And if it is, well, we can make our fly keep moving downwards. So I think that'll be it for this tutorial. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. And I'll try to stay away from some collision detection. I felt like we've done a lot, but we'll probably revisit it in time. So, guys, thanks for watching and see you later.